Okay, so everybody in here go for the 1, 2, 3 lesson yesterday? No? Few people? Okay, good. So Asterisk Security, there's a lot of common mistakes and prevention methods you should be aware of. A lot of people, they get into Asterisk, it's all great and stuff, but there's also some dial plan issues that you may or may not be aware of. And there's also many other things beyond Asterisk that you should be aware of. Too many people focus just on Asterisk, and usually that's not really where they get attacked. So, things that happened when I started to learn Asterisk, I eventually, after many years, deployed a large deployment for a public company in many different countries. And I've also deployed a hosted PBX, which is now nearly 2,000 companies and probably more by tomorrow. Telecom Fraud prior to VOIP has been there forever. If anybody remembers the little whistles you got in the box of Captain Crunch, that produced a tone that gave you free dial tone on phones. That's still not too uncommon with some old Bell networks. Presently, there's a large increase in it, mainly because you've got people throwing VoIP boxes online, you've got people using turnkey systems with web interfaces that easily get hacked, and then all of a sudden you see your box going crazy because somebody's sold a route to your box to make cheap calls. And there's guides everywhere. You can like Google hacking Asterisk and you'll probably find a ton of stuff. Penetration testing tools. Most people are not aware of many of these. They hear about how to block things, but they don't learn how to break things or hack things. It's good to know how to do this because if you want to secure your own box, you need to know a little bit about the other side. Has anybody heard of Backtrack? A few people? Good. For those that haven't heard about Backtrack, it's a penetration testing suite. It's really nice and it includes a lot of tools for SIP. A few of the tools that a lot of people use is SMAP, which quickly scans for devices and boxes and then starts doing various interesting things with SIPSAC. IXEnum, not used too much anymore, used to find in IX accounts. And UCSNIF, which if you are in the middle, lets you do some interesting things. So here's a quick look at all the different tools that Backtrack has just for SIP alone. As you can see, there is a lot of tools in here. So people that are using fail to ban for things just like registration, you're going to get slammed with something like a SIP flood and your box is going to die. So there's a lot more to be aware of than just installing X to prevent X. There's many different attack vectors that can hit you up and do damage. So I've got a video here of what using Backtrack looks like to doing a little attack. Don't know if you can see this because it's pretty bright. So that's what your command line looks like when it's getting attacked by a random attack looking for accounts. Has anybody seen this happen on their own boxes before? Lots of you? Those that haven't, if you're watching it, you'll know why now. Does anybody in here run free PBX or Elastics? Okay. Do you know you can hack that in less than 40 seconds using Backtrack 5? All you have to do is place a call and run the Metasploit and you're in. And there you have it, shell access to your Trix box or Elastics box. So this is reiterating on the fact that although you have failed to ban doing all the wonderful things inside there, this was just a phone call to your box and it exploited an issue to do with one of the PHP files and also some of the internal passing on the context inside Asterisk. So common oversights, like I keep hopping on everybody, it's not just dictionary attacks. It's because people are building boxes that have everything in, including the kitchen sink, the web server, the email server, the NAS, the SAN, an FTP server. You don't want to be too crazy with it. You have to ask yourself when you put a box online, do you have these things on there, and how are you going to stop them? Just don't think SIP. Think other things as well. That's a good point to get across and remember. So in Backtrack, we have this wonderful tool called Fast Track. It's where it's okay to finish in under 3 minutes. This will basically throw every single type of attack against an IP or a range of IPs. So it'll look for web vulnerabilities, SQL vulnerabilities, anything it can get its hands on, it's going to try, and it'll do a wide range of them. You can configure it out a little bit more and do some escalated and privileged type attacks. But for beginners, this is a good one to play with. If you have a production environment and a test environment, try slamming your test environment with Backtrack and a couple of the tools it provides. They'll hopefully, save you from grief later on down the road from a real hacker. So Asterisk General Security configuration tips. These are pretty old, but they still stand true today. This probably applies to a lot of new Asterisk users, which is primarily a good portion of this talk is about. Don't accept authentication requests from all IPs. A lot of people have been telling you that today. So allow a range, deny everything else. Pretty common sense. Always set auth reject to yes. You don't want people easily pruning out names of accounts from your box. If they do, then they just have to get the password. Use strong passwords. I've seen many providers, they have a bad habit of this. They use a phone number for their account name or a simple extension, and then they have the last 4 digits of the password or a simple password. Anybody in here being hit by simple password attacks? Nobody? Oh, one person? Yeah. It's convenient, but at the end of the day, it kicks you in the butt. Block your IMI manager ports. A lot of people overlook this because they write little applications and they don't realize the implementations of it, and that can cause a lot of trouble. Another big thing to do is don't allow a single SIP user to be able to place hundreds of calls. Limit them to a couple of calls. There's no way that your sales guy can be on 18 calls at once. So limit him to a couple calls. Make your SIP usernames different than your extensions. Kind of touches on a previous one, but it's an obvious one. And ensure your default context is secure. A few versions of Asterisk ago, even still today, the allow guess default is not no, it's yes. And it goes to the default context. So what usually happens is people start building out the context in the default context, and they've got these wonderful things like dialing out, and then anybody from the outside can come in and dial out from your box. Lots of people have been got by this. I think somebody here last year got hit with $300,000 phone bill because of this, which is fairly hefty. Yeah, so make sure guest is no all the time, and make sure your contexts that are easily accessible are not. So common dial plan gotchas. A lot of people that start to write dial plan use examples from the web or read a book and they go through it, or they get lazy. But here's some good examples of what not to do. So toll-free numbers, they cost money by the minute for companies. Does anybody see what's wrong with this IVR context? No? Yeah, it's a loop. So there's actually nothing here counting and kicking people off. I've seen a lot of people do this, and the toll-free companies must love it, because you can, go to a payphone, dial the number, throw it off the hook, walk away. Without an exit on that or a loop, every time it hits invalid, it just keeps looping and looping and looping. So if you're writing IVRs from scratch yourself, always remember, find some way to kick them out after so many failed attempts or invalids. Voicemail with dial-out access. Does anybody do this today? You do? Can I have your phone number? Okay. Okay. So yeah, don't ever do this. To pin hack anything or like voicemail is so ridiculously easy. Prior to the VoIP days, there was phreakers and they would just sit there all day mashing numbers in. Like I have hacked personally so many Meridian and North Star and StarTalk mailboxes because they've got easy to, hack pins. Like a phone's only got so many digits, right? It's not like you can enter A or B, it's digits. So DISA, a lot of people like DISA, it's nice. Again, don't use something simple like 1234 as your password. Heck, don't even use passwords, get away from passwords. Do a 2-tiered authentication system. If you know your phone number is blah, 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 have a specific rule for your phone number to do your DISA with an authenticate just for double safety. Because again, there are people out there that will sit there all day and they will mash numbers until they get through. And that is something that's not going to be blocked by fail to ban. So, conference rooms. In general, you probably want to secure these. A lot of people like to hack these and camp on these. So it's another consideration to think of. Okay, poorly constructed dial plans. Does anybody use the X dot still? Yes? I like you. Okay, so the problem with the X dot is it allows for injection into the dial plan. That was recently fixed, I think maybe last year, maybe a little bit before that, with regex and filter. A proper example of using regex and filter is as is below there. So that way you could sanitize it just to be normal digits, nothing funky, like the N sign and dial something else. Has anybody been attacked like that before? No? One person? Yeah? Okay. General network considerations. Does my phone server need to route to the entire internet or just a portion? Static routing, you don't even have to go application level at this point. You can go box wide. Say you only have customers on Rogers or Time Warner, just have a static route back out to the internet for that net block. Anything else won't even be able to hit it and get out because there's no route back out. Very simple way of doing security on that level. Does your internal network pose a threat? Use VLANs if it does. A lot of companies now, larger ones, they have security cameras all over the place and they actually bomb so much traffic across the network. It causes issues. How am I going to control external internal threats against my phone system? Vendor X says they can do it for so many dollars. Don't ever listen to a vendor about saying that's going to tell you they're 100% secure. There's always going to be a loophole found at one point, and there's always a way to crash a box. And another good thing to do is ask your phone provider what they do. A lot of providers, a lot of smaller providers now these days will actually notify you if you start making a lot of international calls or you go over a certain spending limit a day. It's a good thing, right? Because if you're not looking and you got a crazy user or something odd happens, it could end up costing you a lot of money. So look for providers that can help you out as well. Doesn't hurt to have that extra layer of, love. So easy to implement open source solutions. We have fail to ban, works well for registration attacks. There is a link to the wiki there, which has a link to a simple download thing. So if you're running CentOS or Debian, you just download the script and it installs it for you. You don't have to worry about actually doing any work. Snort, it can be used as a part of the open software firewall known as pfSense. Fantastic piece of security software and router, etc. Or you can install it on your box, which is a much more tedious, massive task, and learn how to use it. But it is an excellent IDS IPS system. And you've got other options like hand-rolled IP tables, PF and IPFW rules. Those are for the various different things like CentOS, BSD, etc. Not so easy to, I'll skip that one. Can't say too much about Camilla. So fail to ban has this big list of features here. If anybody was in on JR's previous presentation, he went very well in depth on fail to ban and how it works with matches and actions, but it's a log monitoring program. It monitors logs, and based on criteria, it does something. There is a security note at the bottom I've got there. It's to do with Asterisk. There's certain types of Asterisk attacks that can hit an Asterisk box and are not logged by fail to ban, just because Asterisk isn't logging them correctly right now. A lot of people don't know about that one, so I'll put it there. May be resolved by the time I leave this room, or may not be. Snort, there's a little blurb on Snort. It's big, lots of people use it, lots of people are making appliances on it. It's open source, so you gotta love it, right? Log analysis and scripting. A successful environment doesn't run on autopilot. You should always check your logs once in a while. Something strange may be happening, but you're not watching it or logging it or have something that watches it. I spent a lot of time in the first 5 years that I was doing Asterisk stuff, writing scripts to watch things, which quite frankly at the end of the day got really tedious and not effective. So always watch for things that you're unsure of. And 80%, or well, more than 80% of security people say that a lot of attacks that will happen on your box don't happen from the outside. The serious ones can happen from the insides. You've got a really unhappy employee or an IT guy, they're gonna go have at it. Anybody have any companies like that happen before? Yeah. Sometimes people walk away with a hard drive or two. So know what your phone system is doing. If you're installing phone systems for a business and that business is 9 to 5, you shouldn't see traffic at 8 at night. If you see traffic at 8 at night, you know something's up. Those are very simple things to watch for or have alerts for. Here's an example of hand-rolled rules for SIP. Lets you ban people that are smacking you for a little bit of a flood. So this works for all sorts of stuff. Just basically anything that hits 5060 or 5061 in rapid succession is going to get flagged as a flood. It's going to get a log in your logs, and it's also going to get dropped, which is what you want. You don't want to do this on your carriers, because your carriers are going to be hammering you a lot more than this. But this is just a good general rule for IP tables. There's some more advanced ones, which do with decreasing the amounts of attack, which is useful for some people that might be flooding registrations because they've got issues. You don't want to insta-cut off a customer because then you got to go uncut them off, which is not very conducive to low support costs. Okay, device default passwords. Anybody in here use Polycom? Lots of people? I like Polycom. Default password is 456, and for the most part, you can't easily download configs out of them. Change the passwords anyway, because everybody knows 456. It's the newer password on the newer versions, but most of them are 456. Astra's gotta be my favorite. Its password is admin and 52s, but what makes this my favorite is I can walk into any office, I can do a quick scan, I can look at any of the IP addresses that have the first few digits as an Astra phone, and I can probably log into it, go down to diagnosis, and I can actually download the password for that phone. It's got the complete config and passwords, regardless if it was encrypted on the server. It's there for troubleshooting, and now I can walk out the building with a password to use on the SIP account. Digium, pretty nice phones. Just got one a few days ago. Probably many of you got a Digium phone a few days ago. Password 789. I didn't see any way of easily grabbing the passwords out of there yet. Give me a few more days. But yeah, you definitely want to change that. Carrier analysis. A lot of people don't do this. They get some carrier and they feel, oh great, I'm getting a good rate. I've done this for a lot of people. I've done log analysis, and I've actually found like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars out of whack for large bills. When you get a carrier, there's no honeymoon period. You just keep doing it. Log analysis. Compare their records to your records. Make sure they're doing the correct rounding. Make sure they're charging you the correct rate. Otherwise, you could get stiffed. Actually, most of you probably are getting stiffed, and you don't know about it. Yeah, trying to claim it after is a little bit difficult. oh, you overcharged me. No, we're not giving you that back. So, yep. I found underbilling too. If you have carriers that underbill, let us know. We like those carriers. And here's a free tidbit on how to insert CSV records really fast into a database. If anybody hacks around the command line a little bit, but wants an easy way of dumping in a CSV file to a MySQL database for comparing, here's a real old school way of doing things. You know, we cat the file, we awk it to split it out into variables, and then we spit it into a printf that inserts it into a table. A lot of old school glue, but this is usually the best method for doing things. It's fast, it's lickety-split, you don't sit there in Excel. Besides, if you're a large guy, CSV files you get from carriers are like 200 plus megs. They don't open in Word. They like die, explode. So, questions. I kind of flew through this, but I figured there'd be a lot of questions, and you're probably all eager to get out of here and start using Backtrack to hack your own boxes. Yeah. Yes, I will.
We've got a microphone for questions, so.
It'll be AV guy at the back. Will it be on the Astricom website?
Yes, about 3 weeks.
In about 3 weeks. If you want it sooner, bring me memory sticks. Lots of memory sticks.
There's a question in the back here. Hold on just a second.
To rate your carrier CDRs, did you roll your own or do you have a favorite tool?
I rolled my own.
You want to share that?
It's done in PHP and it differs for every carrier, so they're not very difficult to write. If anybody would like to know how to write a rating tool, it's pretty much the same as you would write a rating tool for your own company, but you have to use their rules, and then you just do a compare on the tables. But yeah, see me after if you want to know more about that.
Purely hypothetical, just purely hypothetical thinking with that voicemail dial thing. What if you just had the press 1 to call back type of functionality or something like that, where it wasn't really allowing you to dial, but it just offered you the option to call back the person who called you?
Call back the person that called you.
I don't even.
Why would you do that though? The whole idea of the voicemail thing is for dial tone, right? Like there's options inside the voicemail conf that let you exit out to contexts. Like
Yeah.
if you want to do like a dial back, you can do a dial back. That's not harmful. Unless
Right.
the dial back's to China and then somebody starts hammering it.
Only during when you dial and go through the voicemail, you go back to the operator. You press
0.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you had any security concerns with doing something like that, where it's like
No,
you called me and left a voicemail, and I just hit a button to automatically call you
No,
back.
that's a good feature for end users.
Okay.
Just, yeah, if there's any way of exploiting stuff, think about how it can be exploited. That's really the takeaway point. And don't ever just get hung up on SIP. Lots of people, oh, my SIP's getting attacked. A lot of companies don't get hacked through the SIP. They get hacked through their Apache web server and their custom user tools.
Actually, SIP, there's a RAT tool that makes now the same as SIP, but takes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there's actually right now working scanners to attack your X drone, your X phones.
Oh, fantastic. Yep. So yeah, turn off your X. Any more questions? No? Everybody's good? You're all going to be safe? Yep.
I'll ask a big picture question as someone who's new to Asterisk, right? And so it sounds like a lot of these security concerns are due to design flaws in the dial plans.
Correct.
And so just thinking about Asterisk compared to other systems, and just in general, like what are your thoughts about? Are the same errors prevalent in other systems? And so this isn't something that the Asterisk community needs to be sensitive to, or it is something that the Asterisk community might need to be sensitive to because
There is design issues with just about every system out there, FreeSwitch as well. Things like the regex help you sanitize your dial plan. But yeah, a lot of systems, a lot of open source systems give you such access to do anything it's really up to you to shoot yourself in the foot. But unless you know you're doing it, it's we have presentations like this, right, to help you out. Just don't put a web server on your Asterisk box if you can avoid it.